While the Atlanta Braves most certainly should not go cheap this offseason, there is a way that they can make it work.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on social media at shortstopball. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves on X, Locked On Braves on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you get on social media. If you're on YouTube and you're watching this, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, leave us a comment down below so others can find us there on YouTube. And on the audio side, you can help out as well. Just leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Thanks so much for your support here at Locked On Braves, which is also part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. So thank you so much for being a part of that here at Locked On Braves. Today's episode, I'm going to tell you 4 cheap moves the Atlanta Braves can make this offseason that could work, although I want more for this team, and I think they could and should do more. But this is the cheap one. We're all looking for these bargains this time of year. Black Friday shopping, Cyber Monday, all happening. We're looking for those bargain deals. I'm going to give you 4 of mine on today's episode, which is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Let's say, for the sake of argument, the Atlanta Braves are somewhat balling on a budget this offseason. I do not think that should be the case, and I'm going to be very frustrated if that is the case, but we're Rays fans, and we have seen how this has played out before. And I don't want to sit here and say that this is, just some completely cheap team that doesn't spend. It's, especially for the past several years, they've been one of the higher payroll teams in baseball. It's not like the unfortunate Milwaukee Brewers, who their fans show out, they keep winning, and yet now they're trying to cut payroll. It's not like that. We have to stop treating ourselves like we're a low market team or something. But I think the front office also needs to stop acting like they're not a big market team, and they shouldn't be able to spend like a big market team. So I understand that side of it, especially because the Braves books are open and we can see their revenue and we see that they're not spending enough money on the team. So I get both sides of it, but it's not like the Braves are a low budget payroll team. So again, not saying that I think they should be balling on a budget. Not that I'm saying they should be looking for those Black Friday deals, but let's just say, for argument's sake, that's the direction they decide to go. And one could also argue, maybe rightly or wrongly, that the Braves have already made their big deal this offseason, spending $16 million to go get Raisel Iglesias. That's not insignificant. There will probably be teams this offseason that won't spend $16 million. So you could already say the Braves made their big deal in getting a closer for $16 million. But let's say going forward, there's nothing else. They don't sign anybody else for more than $10 million a year. That was the biggest move the Braves make this offseason. What else could they do to supplement this roster to put them in a position to compete and win a World Series? That's what I'm going to try to answer today. But let's start out talking about the payroll and what we have to work with in this scenario. Of course, we don't know what the eventual team payroll is going to be, how much Alex is allocated to spend this offseason. Here's what we do know at the moment. According to FanGraphs, the Braves team payroll is around $220 million. And right now, the Braves currently have a top 5 payroll for 2026, ranking 4th overall. That's obviously going to change. 11 teams, I believe, spent over $200 million last year on their team payroll. So those numbers are going to go up. But they're already at $220 million, which is more than they had last year. So the highest payroll they've gone to is around $240 million in 2024. So we know they're at least willing and capable. We know they're capable of much more, but we know they're at least willing to go to that number. FanGraphs tax payroll is at $211 million. I don't even really worry about the tax so much at this point because we know Alex just works off a team payroll, and the team payroll is higher than the tax payroll right now. So I don't even really concern myself too much with the tax payroll anymore because that's not the higher number. But the first tax threshold is $244 million. Let's say that the Braves are willing to bump up their current high of $240 million for the team payroll to $250. So obviously AA likes to spend it, or likes to save at least $10 million for in-season moves. That means we have roughly $20 million to spend. This is all obviously, just projecting. We don't know what the number is for Alex, what he's able to go to, but just based on history and just even thinking optimistically that the payroll will go up and it can go up as far as $250 million, then you're still just looking at the fact that there may only be around $20 million left to spend this offseason. Again, leaving $10 million for in-season moves. Now, you could obviously move some money around. You could try to move as much as Aaron Bummer's contract as you can. You could trade Sean Murphy. Those guys both come with some pretty big salaries for 2026. But for this exercise, we are not doing that. For this exercise, we are assuming we have $20 million to play with the rest of this offseason. And I'm really only focusing on free agents. You could make some of these moves in trades as well, maybe even cheaper type moves in trades. But we're really just focusing on, this is really just, and I'm going to give you my 4 players. You could do this with number. I'm going to give you some honorable mentions too. The point of this exercise is just to show you how you could maneuver in a cheap way and still build out some depth on this roster to set them up for 2026. So $20 million to spend. The holes we're trying to fill here are 2 bench spots, 1 rotation spot, 1 bullpen spot. Yes, 1 bullpen spot. I'll get to that in the second segment. You could definitely switch this up. You know me, this offseason, I'm the one that's been preaching, and I've had some others go against me on this in the comments section and others, that there shouldn't be so much of a focus on a bat. I'm sorry. I've watched the last 2 seasons. I need some more bats. I need some help offensively. Yeah, if everybody stays healthy and plays to their career norms, not even 2023, they were good before 2023, then this offense will be fine. But after what I've witnessed the past 2 seasons, I can't go into another season just hoping for that. So for me, I've been hyper-focused on building out the depth for the lineup. So that's why I'm more focused on filling out the depth on the bench for the lineup and getting 2 more arms. But again, I'm going to talk about that more in the second segment, why I'm only getting 1 rotation spot, 1 bullpen spot. So let's fill out the bench first, though, because like I said, that's where a lot of my focus has been this offseason. And again, I do think they need to go after a bigger type bat. But for this exercise, let's get a left-handed bat. Let's get a right-handed bat. Somebody we can platoon with in the DH spot. Somebody that could spell somebody in the outfield or possibly in the infield. Although, just spoiler alert, I don't really see anybody on the infield, at least free agent-wise, that fits this bill that can be, a lefty-righty type of bat off the bench and substitute for Dubon in this exercise. I'm not getting Ha-Sung Kim. Dubon is the shortstop. But let's fill out the bench. And the first bat that I'm going to go with is Mike Yastrzemski. 2 years, $16 million, so $8 million a year. And obviously, I'm guessing at what these guys might sign for just based on what similar players have signed for in the past. I'm already hearing Yastrzemski is getting a lot of interest this offseason, so we'll see, if that even is a good enough deal for him. And, giving a 35-year-old, he's 35, left-handed hitter, giving a 35-year-old 2-year deal like that is somewhat risky. Maybe you do a 1-year deal with a team option and a buyout. Whatever the case may be, Mike Yastrzemski is the guy. And the more that I looked into him, the more I really started to come around on Yastrzemski. He's been a very consistent hitter in his career. 7 straight seasons of a 99 WRC plus or higher. So he has been league average or better in every big league season. And the last 3 years against right-handed pitching, it's a 12% walk rate, a 22.6% strikeout rate. That's, it's not extremely high, but when you're hoping that he's crushing one side, that he's crushing righties, you would like to see that strikeout rate down a little bit, but 12% walk rate is fantastic. 244 average, again, not great, but these are not the top of the market guys for a reason. 244, 337, that's a good on base. 460, solid slug. That's the slash line for Yastrzemski against right-handed pitchers over the last 3 years. Here was the key one, and this is what I filtered it by, is ISO. I want some I want a lefty bat that can crush righties, and he has a 216 ISO against right-handed pitchers over the last 3 years and a 120 WRC plus. And here was the kicker for me that really started having me lean towards Mike Yastrzemski. Once he got traded last year from San Francisco to Kansas City, his ISO spiked tremendously. Now, it was 125 in San Francisco last year, which is way down even from his career average, which is somewhere between 170, 200, which is still above league average, and playing in that Giants ballpark there, whatever they're calling it now, is really good. But you saw him get a KC, which I don't think many people really consider to be a huge hitter's park anyway. His ISO jumped to 263. So then imagine putting him in Truist Park, which is a really good ballpark for left-handed hitters, and you could see the power numbers really get boosted for Mike Yastrzemski. So again, the more I looked into him, the more I really kind of fell in love with him as this left-handed platoon bat option, can play corner outfield spots. I think he becomes a really solid option for the Atlanta Braves, somebody that's been very consistent production-wise, 99 WRC plus or better in 7 straight years. So that's my first bat on the bench. Next, we'll get to my second bat, my starting pitcher, and my reliever, and we'll look at what the lineup and rotation could look like with all of that here next. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's why making live betting with FanDuel is so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. I can make a comment about the Iron Bowl and the momentum shifting on a Cam Coleman fumble, but I don't want to do it because it's still painful. But that's the kind of stuff we're talking about here. But they also have other stuff out there at FanDuel.com. They have a World Series odds. The Braves still sticking at plus 2,000. We need to get some better movement there. But you can check out, they have national championship odds out there. Ohio State, a big favorite right now. Georgia, third best odds at plus 800. NHL, NBA, NFL. You can see all those odds. College basketball, so much going on right now. You can see all those odds there at FanDuel.com. Also, make sure you visit FanDuel.com/playsafe for tools and resources to help you stay in control of the way you play. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game that moves fast, and so can you. Thank you so much for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. Go check out Locked On MLB for your second listen of the day. Slowly getting caught up on everything happening around the league. Make sure you subscribe right here to Locked On Braves as well. We'll have a lot of content coming your way this week leading up into the winter meeting. So hopefully we're going to have a lot of news. Hopefully I have a lot of Braves news, but I expect a lot of news just in general to talk about here over the next couple of weeks. These are the biggest weeks of the offseason for Major League Baseball. So make sure you subscribe here to Locked On Braves. So I've given you one move so far. Mike Yastrzemski, again, a guy that the more I look into it, the better I feel about that type of move. I just don't know what the cost is going to be. I went with 2 years, $16 million, $8 million AAV. The second one for me is Rob Refsnyder. And I've got him penciled in for a 1 year, $4 million option. I can't imagine it's going to be too high. Kind of similar to Ramon Laureano last offseason. He signed for a similar amount. I mean, it's a short-sided platoon player, 34-year-old. Can't really play in the outfield. I mean, he can stick in a corner, but it's not great out there. You're really getting him for one thing, and that's to come in off the bench or maybe get a start against a left-handed pitcher every now and then. He has a 152 WRC plus against left-handed pitchers over the last 3 years. So it's a very dependable bat, very consistent bat, but it's really a one-trick pony. Again, you're getting this guy for his veteran experience and leadership, but also to come in and just be that lefty killer. They bring in a lefty late in the game, to face one of your tough, one of your lefties at the bottom of the order. Maybe you come in and bring in Refsnyder to get a big hit for you. Maybe you give him some starts in the DH spot every now and then against a lefty, or platoon him in the lineup. It's tough because what I would love of either of these guys, and maybe Mike Yastrzemski can if you have to, I would love to for one of these guys that I get to be able to play center field. So if you wanted to spell Michael Harris in center field against a tough lefty on a night like this, you could do that. Refsnyder obviously can. Again, maybe Yastrzemski can, but then he's a lefty, so that doesn't really work out for you. So I would love to get a right-handed bat that crushes lefties that can also play center field. That would be ideal, but wasn't really able to find that. But if you got somebody in mind, let me know. I forgot to give another option for the left-handed bat. Max Kepler, been a very good left-handed bat for a while now. Somebody else you can go after. Another right-handed bat option, Austin Hayes, 139 WRC plus against lefties the last 3 years. So those are some of the guys. Again, it doesn't have to be. I just want to give you the archetype of the moves that could be made to help deepen and strengthen this roster, to prepare for injuries, to prepare for regression, to have major league hitters ready to step in, and guys that, have some specialties that they can do. And so that you can mix and match your lineup. So these are the two bench guys that I'm filling it out with. Mike Yastrzemski, Rob Refsnyder, left-handed bat, right-handed bat, can platoon, mix and match. Now, the tough part of this, as always, is how do you convince these guys to sign for you when you can't necessarily guarantee them every day at bats? That's always a tough part of trying to fill out your bench and get depth, is they're going to sign here and they're going to say, well, Profar's in left, Michael Harris is in center, Acuna's in right. Where's my playing time coming? And they want to play. They obviously, want to play. They'd love to play for a winner, and I get that, and hopefully the Braves are. But that's going to be the struggle. Would you rather, if you're Rob Refsnyder, would you rather sign a 1-year, $4 million deal for the Braves where you might get 1 or 2 starts a week, or go to a team, I don't know, the Pirates, somebody else where you're going to get a lot of playing time? That's a decision a lot of these guys have to make, and that's why it's tough to convince them to come in. But this is my fantasy world. I offer them the deal, they accept it. Those are the two bats that I'm going with. Let me know what you think about those guys. Now, moving over to the pitching side of things, my starting pitcher that I'm going after is Zach Eflin. And I know you're rolling your eyes. You're not too excited about it. Again, we're bargain shopping here. I think you can do much better in a trade, obviously. You can go trade and probably get a better deal, obviously, for a better pitcher, and maybe not the same price, but maybe a similar price. But Zach Eflin's the guy I'm going after here. 1 year, $5 million. I'm hoping you get him off a down year, that you can get him pretty cheap. He is 31. So there's a chance that a team, one gives him a little bit more money than that on a 1-year deal. And there's also a chance a team gives him a multi-year deal. But I'm taking a shot on Zach Eflin, coming off a down year, but not too far removed from a couple of really good seasons in 2023 and 2024. One of his best seasons in 2023, which doesn't make sense because it was a juiced ball season. But what I love about Zach Eflin is just he doesn't walk anyone, and he gets a good amount of chase. Now, he's had issues with health in the past, but over the last 3 years, he's thrown a lot of innings. Again, last year only threw 14, 15 starts in the big leagues because of injury. But for the most part of the last 3 years, he's been healthy and he's posted. But I love the walk rate. I love the chase rate. It's a guy who's still young enough that he can prove himself to try to get a better deal. There are a lot of names, though, that you could consider in this spot. And again, I know you're not going to like any of these names. And the argument here, which is a very valid argument, is why waste your money signing one of these guys and potentially blocking Hurston Waldrop, J.R. Ritchie? And I get that, and I understand that. And if you wanted to make that argument, I think it'd be a very good argument. Here's my argument against that. It's 162 games. You need as much pitching depth as possible. And now is your opportunity to go out and get that depth much easier than it is during the season. So yeah, it might hurt to not have Hurston Waldrop in your starting rotation day one because he has options. It may hurt to see somebody that is not as good of a pitcher in your starting rotation because you're playing the long game. And I've been against that in the past. But like I said, with what I've seen the last 2 years, and maybe it is just recency bias playing into this decision-making here, But with just so many injuries and how many injuries the Braves have suffered, how many guys they have right now that are just such huge question marks. Spencer Strider, Spencer Schwellenbach, Chris Sale, Ronaldo Lopez, Grant Holmes, fantastic pitchers. And if they all 5 stayed healthy all year long, this would be the best rotation in baseball. But all 5 carry pretty significant injury risk. And so you have to be prepared for that. And you have to be able to do that now. And so I understand. I'm about to tell you some names that you probably want no part of. But I'm telling you these names because I know at some point you're going to need more arms. You're going to need more veterans to come in and be able to give you quality innings. And now is the time to get that depth, not scramble for it when all of a sudden your entire rotation goes down. So Zach Eflin's my guy here that I'm hoping I can get on a 1-year, $5 million prove it type of deal. But there are others to consider here. Patrick Corbin, Adrian Hauser, Andrew Heaney, Tyler Anderson, Miles Michaelis, Jose Quintana. Again, not guys I'm wanting to take into the postseason with me, but guys that can help me get through the regular season. Guys that I know that can go out there and they can eat 5 or 6 innings. They may get blown up, but they'll pitch 5 or 6 innings. That's what I'm looking for out of this starter, especially when we're balling on a budget here. That's what I'm looking for. And again, I understand the argument against this. You want to make it, please do in the comment section below. And I do not think that you would be wrong. But just what I've seen with pitcher injuries, what the Braves have gone through, especially last year with the pitcher injuries. But I want to be more prepared for that from the start. And I've said many times, if I have to go to a 6-man rotation to at least begin the year, so be it. Because you know you're going to need that depth eventually. So Zach Eflin, 1 year, $5 million. And then my final move is a bit funny one, but Tyler Kinley, 1 year, $3 million. Doesn't sound all that exciting because it's not. You're basically getting a guy back. You're maybe saving $1 million and otherwise just picking up his deal, which I think they should have done in the first place. But you're bringing back Tyler Kinley on a 1 year, $3 million deal. He was amazing coming over after the trade deadline. Many of us thought it was a no-brainer that they were going to pick up his $5.5 million option. Instead, they elected to pay the $750 million buyout. AA said there's a chance maybe they bring these guys back. And that's what I'm predicting here. Tyler Kinley back on a 1 year, $3 million deal. See if what worked in the second half last year after coming over can continue to work. And if it does, then he's a setup guy. He barely gave up anything after coming over. There are plenty of options here that could be in this price range. Even your guy, Michael Soroka. I don't know that Pierce Johnson in this price range, but maybe. You could even bring back Pierce Johnson in 1 year, $5 million or less, probably. Coulomb is another guy you can go after. Hobie Milner, Jacob Webb, even former Brave, Ryan Stanek, Taylor Rogers. Maybe you get Jordan Romano coming off a rough season, a guy that's had really good stuff, showed some ups and downs last year coming back from injury. Maybe you take a shot on a guy like that. Couple of old friends, Shelby Miller, Kirby Yates. Maybe take some shots on those guys as well. Maybe you can get one of them on a minor league deal. There's a lot of options for the bullpen of guys that you can get for less than $5 million and take a shot on them. But I'm going with Tyler Kinley. Again, had a lot of success here. I thought they should have kept him anyway, but maybe you can bring him back on a little bit cheaper deal. So those are my moves right there. Mike Yastrzemski, Rob Refsnyder, Zach Eflin, Tyler Kinley. Those are my 4 moves for $20 million, my cheap signs to build out the depth of this roster for 2026. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Next, I'm going to give you the roster with these guys, the rotation, the bullpen, to kind of put it all out there for you so you can decide what you think. But next, we'll get into that and talk about some of the news of the day. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. Rough year for baseball. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. And, whether you're this offseason, maybe you're getting ready to go to a college playoff football game this upcoming winter, you can check out the Game Time app. They'll have those deals on there. I use Game Time whenever I'm looking to go to an event, not just sporting events, but concerts as well. You can see all that right there in the Game Time app. As we get ready for baseball season, I'm going to be looking in there constantly to try to get the best deal on a Braves game to take the family with me again. We had so much fun the last time we went, even though the Braves got embarrassed. It was still a great time, and we got great seats thanks to Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. So with those moves that I have made as your cheap GM, here's what the roster could look like. Drake Baldwin at catcher, Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Mauricio Dubon as your infield. Profar, Michael Harris, and Acuna in the outfield. In the DH spot, I've got Mike Yastrzemski. You could platoon him there with Sean Murphy and obviously mix Baldwin in there whenever he's not catching. And then the rest of your bench is, Murphy, Refsnyder, Brujan, and White. I'm keeping on the bench as pinch runners. Brujan is your just everywhere defensive replacement. If you had to, I don't love things that I don't love about this. I said earlier, I'd rather have an outfielder that can, either mash lefties or righties and play center field so that you could put them. I'd rather have a right fielder that can, a right-handed bat that can crush lefties and play center field would be the ideal dream bench bat for me. But I didn't really see one of those that existed out there for the price that I was looking for. But Brujan gives you that ability, and Eli White, they can cover all three outfield spots. Brujan can cover everywhere on the infield other than first base. And really Eli White, I mean, the little bit that I've seen of him on the infield, I was really impressed. So I think he can cover those gaps too. And then on the pitching side, it's Chris Sale, Spencer Schwellenbach, Spencer Strider, Grant Holmes, I'm putting in the rotation, Zach Eflin, and Bryce Elder to start, obviously with Waldrop and J.R. Ritchie waiting in the wings. That gives you a pretty deep rotation right there. I'm going with the six-man rotation to start the season. Like I said, that won't last. Injuries will come. That does shorten up your bullpen a little bit. And you can move Eflin, you can move Elder to the bullpen if you had to. But 7 bullpen arms for now with the six-man rotation. I'm going with Iglesias, Lee, Bummer, Jimenez, and Lopez. I moved Lopez to the bullpen, Holmes in the rotation. We talked about that a little bit last week as well. So that's 5 pretty solid arms right there already. Iggy, Lee, Bummer, Jimenez, and I'm also assuming that Jimenez is healthy and ready to go, and Lopez. That's a pretty decent bullpen. And then I'm finishing it off with Dodd as kind of my swing man, long man in the bullpen, and then Tyler Kinley, who we just signed back. So that's my lineup. That's my roster. Let me know what you think. And again, I think the Braves should do more than this. I think they should make these moves and make bigger moves on top of this. But let me know what you think. If they did go cheap, if they just wanted to spend $20 million to build out the depth on the roster, how would you do it? Do you approve of some of these names? Do you have some other names in mind? And some of you sent me those on social media. I asked you, I said, give me 2 deals under $8 million. Jared Vickery says, don't know if you're including trades, but I'd say JoJo Romero and see if Cedric Mullins will take a hometown discount. I looked into Mullins, just the platoon splits weren't quite there, but he is one guy, and it's obviously left-handed, so I was looking more for a right-handed guy that could play center field, but I did look into Mullins. JoJo Romero is obviously somebody that I've loved and talked about in the past. I just wasn't getting into trades here. Ollie says, Caleb Ferguson, 1 year, $4 million. Jose Quintana, 1 year, $7 million. I don't know much about Ferguson. Didn't look into that, but I was all over Jose Quintana last year, so much so that I'm really not wanting to go into him this offseason because I feel like I called it last year, and the year after you call a guy is usually the year that they fall apart. But obviously Quintana would be solid. I'd hope to get him a little bit cheaper than that. I think he signed for $4 million last year. Calvin Fenner says, Tyler Kinley and Pierce Johnson. What a thought. Yeah, get those 2 guys. That would have been good. You can get both of them for under $8 million. Dustin Mount says Evan Phillips and Dustin May. I'd co-sign that. I love both of those guys. I've talked a lot about Dustin May. I don't know how teams are going to view him, but I definitely would love to take a shot on him if I can. Ronald Acuna Jr. is King says Hunter Harvey and Gregory Soto. I've talked about Soto a lot. Harvey's one that I kind of looked into, so I wouldn't mind those two guys for the bullpen. And then Owen Ray says Dustin May as a swing man. So yeah, I've talked a lot about Dustin May already this offseason. Somebody that I do like. I just don't know how teams are going to view him. He's still young enough. I imagine he's probably going to get a good big league deal. I don't know. He's somebody I could see getting a solid 2-year, $14 million deal, something like that. It's also somebody I could see getting a minor league deal. I don't know how teams are going to view him, but I'd love to take a shot on him. Speaking of Ronald Acuna Jr., he is apparently going off in the Venezuelan League. Hit a home run the other day. He's already stolen 4 bases, so we're seeing some speed coming back. So that's a lot of fun. You've been keeping up with that. Some other news happening around Major League Baseball. We didn't talk about it last week, I don't think, but Dylan Cease signed a 7-year, $210 million deal with the Jays. Ryan Helsley signed a 2-year, $28 million deal with the Orioles. So those were both right about on the projections. They were actually a little over MLB Trade Rumors projections, but that kind of sets the market, especially for starters right there. That's probably going to be top of the market money. So you're looking at Framber probably getting around 175, Amai probably getting around 150, 175 million, which is what we kind of, thought to begin with. And then the Giants signed reliever Sam Hintage for 1 year, $1.4 million. They're getting one of those bargain deals in right there. Well, that would do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Thanks so much for joining me today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast. And we will talk to you next.